Hello and Assalamualaikum. My name is Nurin Haziqah Binti Razali and I'll be presenting the result of my research which titled The Tropical Weathering of Gasoline in Synthetic Substrates. So this study was conducted by using two different substrates, which is PVC and also carpet. However, due to limitation of time, I'll be only presenting the result I gained by using carpet as a substrate. So, this study is to determine the effect of tropical weathering on gasoline in the presence of different types of synthetic substrates. The specific objective for this research is to compare the impact of tropical weathering on the volatile organic profile of gasoline under room temperature and tropical temperature in the presence of synthetic substrates for first, short-term interval, second, for long-term interval, and lastly to validate the effect of tropical weathering, exposure duration, and different type of synthetic substrates on volatile organic profile of gasoline. This research was done by letting the synthetic substrates undergo weathering by exposing it to different type of condition, which are tropical and indoor environment, and also at different duration of time. Then, the sample was then collected and incubated for 16 hours in the oven. Then, the sample was extracted from the charcoal tablet by using pentane and was injected to the GCMS to analyze. So, here is the total ion chromatogram, which includes the target compound that was identified by their retention time. So, here is the volatile organic profile that we needed, which is the toluene, the group of C2 compound, the group of C3 compound, the group of C4 and indene compound, and also the group of C5 and naphthalene compound. So first of all, it is important for us to know that the difference of humidity and temperature in tropical and room condition. So this graph right here shows the difference of the humidity and the temperature of both condition. So the maximum amount of the tropical temperature in College Ungku Umar, which is the place where the weathering occurs, is 40 degrees Celsius, and the minimum temperature is at 32.5 degrees Celsius. While the temperature in the laboratory, which is the room temperature, has the maximum and minimum temperature of 29 and 17.5 degrees Celsius respectively. As for humidity, we can also see that there is a great difference between room and tropical condition, where the range of humidity in tropical conditions seems to be much bigger than room temperature. So therefore, based on the first objective, we will be seeing the effect of the tropical weathering on the weathering of gasoline in short-term interval. So based on this TIC, we can see that in short term, the tropical weathering does give an effect to the peak height of the compound. So based on previous research, as the time of exposure increases, the low molecular weight compound will experiencing a decrease of peak height. So in this TIC, it does shows that the height of peak of the molecular compound do decrease over time. However, as shown in this diagram, the peak height between Therefore, based on the first objective, we will be seeing the effect of tropical weathering on the weathering of gasoline in the short time interval. So based on this TIC, we can see that in short term, the tropical weathering does give an effect to the peak height of the compound. So based on previous research, as time of exposure increases, the low molecular weight compound will experiencing a decrease of peak height. So in this TIC, it does shows that the height of peak of the low molecular weight compound do decrease over time. However, as shown in the diagram, the peak height between indoor and outdoor does shows difference, especially in the interval between 6 hours until 16 hours. So in outdoor, the peak height of the high molecular weight compound does seem to be much higher than indoor. So here is the graph shows the difference of the height of peak of the compound between indoor and outdoor condition. Based on this graph, it clearly shows that the higher molecular weight compound such as C4 and C5 and also naphthalene compound seems to be having a higher peak height, especially at 12 hours and 16 hours interval at outdoor and indoor. As we all know, Malaysia has higher humidity and lower temperature at night. So for this particular sample, we did left the sample at night. So this graph right here showed the range of humidity and temperature of the weathering process that occur during the 12 hours outdoor sample. So this data shows that the humidity during the weathering of this sample appear to be higher, which between 80 to 100% of humidity level. So the increases of the peak height of the high molecular compound may affected by the amount of humidity that causing the compound to elute much faster. So next, now we will be observing the result of the effect of the tropical weathering towards the synthetic substrates during long intervals. As I mentioned earlier, as time increases, the peak height of the compound will be decreased, especially for lower molecular weight compound. However, for higher molecular weight compound, it shows difference as they seem to be decreased and increased over time. Based on this diagram, we can see that the higher molecular compounds such as C4 and C5 and also naphthalene seem to have experiencing this increases and decreases of peak height in outdoor and indoor conditions. So in this diagram, we can see how the low molecular compound like toluene does keep decreasing in peak height, while the high molecular weight compound like naphthalene experiencing this decrease and increases of peak height in both conditions. So tropical weathering seems to have no effect on the volatile organic compound of gasoline in the long term. However, it does cause the gasoline to be weathered more, causing the decreases of the peak height more intensely at outdoor than outdoors. So lastly, a statistical analysis was done based on these results. So for the significant difference between the indoor and outdoor for long-term intervals, it shows that there is a significant difference on dodecane compound between the indoor and outdoor samples. Second, there's also a significant difference on the compound of 2,3-dimethyl naphthalene. And lastly, there's also a significant difference on the compound of 2,7-dimethyl naphthalene. Next, there's a statistical analysis on the long-term and short-term interval also was done, and it shows that dodecane and also 2,3-dimethyl naphthalene shows a significant difference between long-term and short-term. So in conclusion, the tropical weathering does give an impact to the presence of volatile organic profile of gasoline under short-term and long-term intervals. So that's all from me today. Thank you.